the weekly way. Oh, I can't spread the nose. The weekly way. Oh, can you tell me who? The weekly way. Did you see it? The weekly way. I'm glad you stopped by. Take him to him, baby. Take him up again. Oh, can you tell me who? The weekly way. Oh, yeah. The weekly way. In the nose. The weekly way.
Everything's at least 30 minutes.
Well, here we go. Maria Keck, thank you so much for coming, Blair.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
It's been so nice to get to hear your stuff more and more frequently over the last, 6 months since the festival.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just say, your weirdness has spread so much inspiration into people's lives. Whatever you do with that goddamn looper, as well as just like your beautiful songs, I'm all about it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And we were just discussing your teaching career. How long have you been a music educator?
So this is my 7th year.
Word.
Smack dab in the middle of it. So,
Nice,
yeah.
nice. Did you teach like private lessons or anything like that beforehand?
No, I got my degree in music education, and I got this job right out of college.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
I feel like it's a miracle if you can come out of college and find a teaching job that you actually enjoy enough to stay.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's kind of wild. Yeah.
Do you have a lot of friends that you went to school with that are still music educators? Do a lot of people kind of fall off with that dream?
That's a good question. So I went to Xavier.
No way.
And yeah.
Me too.
Really?
Go Muskies. Yeah.
But so the music department there is super small. The education department is big and great. The music department is like, iffy.
Yeah.
So
Also that building. What's the name of the building?
Edgecliff.
Edgecliff. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little musty, but
It is musty. You go downstairs where the like practice rooms are. It's like, I can't tell if this is like solitary confinement with a couple of kids playing horns, which would be an
Which is
amazing way.
worse.
If we really wanted to have reformation in solitary, you should put it right next to a dude practicing trumpet. It'll change your fucking life.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like they just shoved the music majors to the corner of campus in the oldest, like tightest building they could find.
Yes,
So-
it is oddly like, I don't know, 12 feet across during like that middle section. It's right by the road. It's a bad place for a music education kind of space.
Yeah.
Did you have to take a lot of piano lessons through that experience?
I took 1 or 2 years of piano, I think. And in the music ed program, you have to take a class piano too, like 1 semester.
Class
So,
piano is in like,
like you have multiple, like it's a whole class of people.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I did that for like a like an intro to piano kind of class. And it was atrocious watching some of these people thinking that they were just gonna like not do anything. It's not something you can fake.
No.
You know, you can't raise your hand to get the wrong answer, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're trying." You know,
Right,
it's
right.
pretty pitiful.
Yeah, you actually need to practice in order to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you carry any of that dexterity and utility of that instrument moving forward?
I'm not a great piano player, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. Well, I think just like, was it useful as someone that still actively plays in a variety of contexts?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was useful, and a lot of the class piano was like practical applications of like harmonizing. So a lot of what we would do would just be like have an 8-measure melody, and then we would have to just like harmonize it and like come up with, the chords to harmonize the melody.
I feel like if you can learn like the relational aspect of piano, like so much more theory makes sense versus any of the stringed instruments. It's like you learn it in one key and suddenly all you gotta do is the math and you're gonna be there.
Right.
Versus on piano, it's like, no, it has to be a B flat. You can go up an octave, it still has to be a fucking B flat.
Yeah.
And that like rigidity, but also it's only 12 notes. It's a very manageable chunk.
Sure.
Did you start as a flautist?
I did actually, yeah.
In playing in a section in that kind of a way, did you feel that same
rigidity about harmony and how you kind of relate to the rest of your players?
Interestingly enough, I didn't know or think very much about harmony in like the orchestral or like wind band setting. Unfortunately, I don't know why my mind wasn't really thinking a lot that way, but like it's so interesting because I played in ensembles for a long time. I mean, high school, college, but I still have barely ever just played with a band, like a band, you know, like, oh, let's get together and jam kind of band. And so in that setting, I know, like, I get really nervous. Like, if someone's like, let's jam, I'm like, I don't, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
But, like, I know that in that setting, you have to be a lot more conscious of what you're hearing so that you can, you know, play by ear and fit into what's going on. But the group setting that I was always playing in, like, exactly what I needed to play was laid out in front of me. And I only saw what I needed to play. And so there was so much focus on getting that correct that I wasn't always like tuned in to like how it fit with the chord or that kind of thing.
That's really fascinating because
Yeah.
I guess in those settings you sit down with 2 or 3 other flautists, or maybe you're the only one, and it is, here's your part, learn your part, practice it by yourself, and then there's some fun in plugging it into the rest of the group. But it's not like at any point during that you can zoom out and really comprehend all that's going on unless you kind of see that as your avenue, unless you want to be the conductor, you want to work in that kind of orchestral setting.
Yeah.
So in doing that and eventually moving into your style of looping as a vocalist, do you reference those kind of things, or is it mainly ear-based when you're setting up depth and harmonies and soundscapes?
For the most part, I have to write some things out when I'm looping. I have to, like, you know, it'll start as a melody, and I might be at a keyboard kind of figuring out the melody. And then from there, I'm like, okay, I'm in this key. And then I'll pick a few chords from that key, and I just write the chord members out on a piece of paper, and I figure out, like, you know, with the flute, what, you know, how I'm going to layer those notes of the chord. And I'll use, like, I don't know if you've heard the term, like, voice leading. And that was something that I learned, but I don't know how useful it is. But, like, I like the idea of voice leading where I will write out the chords. Like, say I just have, like, the 1 chord, the 4, and the 5 chord. And those, like, if it's just a major triad, the 1, the 3, and the 5 of each chord. But then I'll be like, okay, if I want to just play simple, like, whole notes on the 1 chord and the 4 and the 5, I'm not just going to play, like, in C major. I'm not just going to play, like, a C and then an F and then a G and then do the 3rd and the 3rd and the 3rd and the 5th and the 5th. I'll be like, okay, well, the 1 chord has an E in it, so I'm going to start with the E because then it'll, like, lead very nicely into the F.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to the E or the D of the G chord. And so, like, using that voice leading so that when I'm layering a layer, it sounds nice as almost like a melody. So that is, like, I think one aspect that makes my looping kind of feel like the setup and the actual loop is like a part of the orchestration, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. And,
Yeah.
you know, voice leading is one of those things that, like, I think a lot of kids get shown and it becomes homework. And in some ways it sucks while you're learning it. But you learn that minimal movement for the whole piece to kind of continually reform allows the music to do the work it's kind of meant to.
Yeah.
Rather than when you take the simplest way out, when you keep that 1-3-5 stack, it starts to sound like these major shifts and it's kind of jagged in that way. Whereas, like, you have these soundscapes that feel they're easy on the mind and allows you to get past what's going on chordally and get into whatever you're gonna do with the top line melody or whatever you're doing vocally with the actual lyric itself. And to hear that you take the time to write those aspects out is really interesting for folks that are wondering, is it worth actually investing in that side of my education? As a guitar player, I never really saw that as an important piece of the puzzle until someone put it in front of me, and I was like, wow, I'm missing so much of the why behind my favorite melodies. As you start to work into new songs and you're kind of coming up with ideas, I think I'd asked you about this after the last Muse. Do you start off chordally somewhere, or do you have that initial melody and then start to imagine what will be the bass layer of it?
I think usually I start with a melody. Yeah.
And once you have a melody, do you listen back and reference that and start to write verses in that kind of a cappella feel, or do you fully flesh that out before the rest of the song kind of emerges?
I think, man, it really depends. Since I put the album out this summer, I've mostly only written like simple, sad guitar songs where I'm not looping at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that is, just I don't know what's happening to me. But that it gets stuck. Those are stuck in like a very simple pattern because I'm used to looping, and so I'm like, okay, 4 chords on the guitar, and then that just repeats for the whole song. But that is kind of like, I think what happens is I come up with a verse or a chorus. The melody usually comes while I'm writing the lyrics. So the lyrics come first, almost like poetry, and then once I have a verse, then I'll try to sing whatever the words are. And then from there, then I'll sit down with an instrument, whether it be just my flute for a melody or keyboard or guitar. And I think I'll just, if it's like a chordal instrument like a guitar, I'll just play a couple chords, maybe figure out around what key I was singing in. And then harmonically, I'm not too complex. So I kind of I don't focus too much on trying to come up with like an elaborate chord progression. It's just kind of like what's going to easily get me to finishing this song.
Yeah.
What are 2 or 3 or 4 chords that I need to get to the end of this song? And so from the one verse or the chorus or whatever, coming up with a key, coming up with a couple chords, then I kind of just develop the melody, and whatever harmonically ends up there is fine.
Yeah. Well, what I really like about watching you perform your songs is it's kind of like the voice length piece that you were touching on. Like there's something that is the center of this song that is going to continue throughout the whole piece. Sometimes that's just groove related, but normally there's some kind of melodic bass that we're sitting on. Mm-hmm. And then you really you massage the layers throughout the song in a way that never feels like we've stayed in the same place. But I know that if you floored all 4 loops, mm-hmm. you would kind of show the ceiling of what the song's at. So you never really show that ceiling. Mm-hmm. When you're initially laying out all the layers of the song, do you kind of start at the ceiling and start to refine the performance based on that?
No, I would say that it's the opposite. I would say it's the other way around. I think I start with some sort of rhythmic pattern first. Or if I have a chord progression, I'll start with trying to figure out how that's going to work. Or maybe it's just really simple. Maybe I'm just strumming ukulele chords, or I've started to use some MIDI keyboard too, so just simple chords on the keyboard. So either that, some sort of harmonic bass, or something rhythmic. And a lot of the times, if I'm not looping an instrument when I'm writing a song, it starts with something rhythmic, whether it be the hi-hat, or just trying to come up with a simple 1-bar beatbox or something like that. And then sometimes I might just start layering in like background vocals or like rhythmic vocals that have a melody, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To kind of just be the background for me testing out how the melody is going to go.
And do you try to keep that initial loop to a minimum, knowing that you want to have, as many points as possible to kind of loop on top of? So like trying to keep it to a single bar so that way loop 2 can be 2 passes, it can be 4 passes, it could just be 1 pass on it.
Interesting. I think I try to keep the first loop as simple as possible, at least in the writing process. That might change later when I figure out like the first loop needs to be like a 4-bar vocal layer with, harmonic changes or whatever, that might change later. But in the writing process, whatever happens first is usually pretty simple. Yeah. In terms of the looping. And, I usually, these two channels, or whatever you want to call them, usually have something short and simple. There's usually like a rhythmic thing over here. And I have the other channels like set to a free length. So I can have, longer loops there.
Yeah. And how much does the visual aspect of the 505 help you in those free modes? Because that's kind of scary as fuck.
Yeah, so none of them are in full free mode. So I don't know if I use that term technically, because you can set the channels independently, and like the full free mode is like it will literally start recording as this exactly when you press it and stop exactly when you press it, and so it's not locking into a tempo.
Versus, so like there's free, then there's sync, so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, it's however many versions of that bar, and then there's serial, where it's like the cascading version of that, which I don't really understand.
I don't even know what that is.
I've had a couple of times where my looper went into that mode, and I tried to use it, and I was like, oh, you're getting freaky. I see.
Is it like chopping up?
It's almost deciding when to get off of loops, and it's pulling other ones out. So, like, I didn't really understand it. I'm sure if I read a manual, which, would be wonderful, that would help out, but
They're so thick.
they are. And
Yeah.
also, they're probably digital. I'm not going to read something online. This isn't a Kindle. I ain't going through that shit.
Maybe someone can read it to you.
That'd be neat. Is there
Yeah.
an Audible of this? I'd like him to be
Yes.
British and sweet.
Exactly.
But you had gone from an RC30 to this, correct?
Yeah.
So how much did the visual aspect of that help to kind of refine the loop process?
I would say the biggest thing, two biggest things are like being able to have different lengths of loops. So I can do, it just like helps the overall arrangement and the performance, because I don't, if I want to have 8 bars of loops, I don't have to wait 8 bars every time I set a loop. So
Yes.
the arrangement is much more refined, like you said. And once I've practiced a song many times, I know exactly like how to make it fit and how to make it not feel like it's just dragging. And then the other big thing is just being able to fade in and out, kind of like what you talked about, and like produce live, if you will.
Yeah. But like the onboard effects, like you use really brilliantly. It's not at any point that like I feel like you're trying to take the sound that is being analog produced so far out that we don't recognize it. But everything very visually translates from this is what she needed it for to this is what she's using it for, and this is how it interacts with everything else. And I think the worst part of looping for everyone that utilizes that tool is the thought of like, am I boring them at this point? So like waiting for a single track kind of looper to go over 8 bars and then to overdub 8 bars. And then it's just like...
And then you mess something up and you're like, I have to start that over.
Now, I will say Kyle Hackett is the king of the undo button. I've never seen someone so seamlessly undo something, and like he only uses that one single looper. So he'll throw a chorus on it and then scrap the whole thing. I'm like, it was beautiful, Kyle, you monster.
Oh my gosh, I know. That is wild that he is still just doing that, but he's so amazing.
He crushes it, and
Yeah.
it frustrates me that he won't take it to a bigger looper because I want to see what he does there. But that's everyone's style.
Yeah.
But again, I think like you have such an alternative way of using that looper. What would you say is the song off the album that took the biggest leap from this was a song before it had live arrangement to this is the song in how I'm going to do it for every single show until I'm done with the song?
Oh, geez. So is the question took the biggest leap from before the the live version before the album to
From album to live performance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Because I do love the album. And it's so much more fun on vinyl, too, because things do carry well throughout it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't realize how much of an art goes into sequencing something like that until you just let it spin for itself.
Yeah.
And I know my feelings of taking the hands off, where it's like, God damn, do I not... you can't say it's perfect, but you can say it's good enough for you, and then other people will say it's perfect, and you're like, oh, it's perfect.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is so hard to just let it go and be like, okay, it just has to be free. Let it be free into the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, especially when you've already put so much time into other songs that aren't on there too. Like there's so much within the head of the artist when it comes to what and why. For how many tracks are on there? 7?
8.
8.
Yeah.
I know there's more that could be on there, and there's
Mm-hmm.
also less that could be on there. So starting to take your kids to the chopping block and decide who's fucking worth it.
Yeah.
And then to go through the process in the studio, as opposed to what you do here, is it's a mental fit to go through. It's an exercise that's totally different than the rest of the artistry.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you spend, like the more time you spend in the studio, and the more like versions you listen to and different mixes, like you go through this mental roller coaster of like, is this even worth it?
Yeah.
And this sucks. And when you hear it so many times and you're like, what was I even trying to fix here? Like, I think it sounds worse. And, it's just, but yeah. But those 8 songs needed to be on the album, even though some of them I had been playing for like 2 years. But I was like, okay, this is the first album, and these are the types of songs I've been writing, and these songs belong here. And even though there were a couple other songs that like I really liked, and I was like, this is a good representation of me and like the first stage of myself as a performing artist, I was like, they don't fit. They don't belong on this album, So kind of like you said. But
they really do feel congruent in that way, but it's hard to judge your children in that way. Like if I look at my full catalog and I try to put them in boxes, someone else wiggles their way in and someone wiggles their way out by the time you're done rationalizing it to yourself. And at some point it's like, I have to put this thing in plastic and call it a day. And I think like the highest state of recording and producing your own stuff is to get past the phases of, did I just make it worse?
yeah.
Because that is like a really tough question to come across. And if you don't come across it, then you probably haven't spent enough time on it. But boy, does it shake your shit up. I mean, it's really upsetting.
100%. Yeah. And I think that something I learned is that I had to, even though I don't really like doing this very much, I had to have other people listen to it, aside from the person who was producing it and my boyfriend. Like, I had to have other people listen to it and tell me, like, it's good.
Yeah.
And
like, to sit there and listen to it with them as well,
Yeah.
and not interrupt and not apologize or explain things. Like, there's something so valuable about someone's first listen with material that you're so close to. It's best just to play it for them and watch them without being creepy. But like the entire time you want to interject with why and what, and everyone has so many thoughts on their own shit.
Right.
And like the worst is if you show them it's in the DAW and you start mixing stuff again and changing things. It's like you need to be bound by duct tape and just put through the ringer on it.
Yeah, for sure. So you asked me, so most of the songs you asked me like what.
Yeah,
took
who
the biggest leap.
transformed the most?
So they're all okay. 6 of the songs on the album were, I pretty much still perform them the way I performed them before. However, the album versions are, there's still ukulele, there's still flute, there's still vocals, and they're all my vocal layers. But the bass and the drums are all electronic. So that's the major difference. But then there's an acoustic song on there, acoustic guitar. And that one I don't perform very much, although I did just have a pickup installed in my guitar finally. So,
what'd you get put in there?
oh, it's an LR Bags
Nice.
something. I don't know. I don't remember.
Still, LR Bags makes great pickups, and it's
Yeah.
always nice to be like, I made some gear changes.
Yes, it's very exciting, and I just put new strings on it. I'm like, okay, I'm a guitar person now. So
More shit to bring out.
yes,
Congrats.
exactly. But I think it's cool because now I can, whatever I was doing on the ukulele, I can easily do on the guitar. Plus, I can add in just my guitar and vocal singer-songwriter stuff, which is all I've been writing lately. So,
Yeah.
anyways, so there's that, and Megan Wren, who we both know and love, played guitar on that track. So that's just something that I don't play very much, but when I start bringing the guitar out, I will. And I love that song so much. So I'm like, I don't want to, ruin what Megan did on it by playing it live. But I did play guitar and sing it by myself at the vinyl release show, and I was very nervous. And I was like, I'm nervous, everybody. Like,
was it at Motor?
Yeah.
Cool. And you had a band on that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to bring your looper to a band is the most like internally disturbing thing ever, because now a drummer's got to live in your little box, and when it works out, when it clicks, it's so fulfilling.
Yeah.
But it makes me shake in my boots.
Yeah. So I was really lucky to have Matt Heath. I'll give him a shout out. Matt Heath.
Matt Heath.
He did everything on the album. So I met him a year and a half ago, and he was like, come record in my studio. And
did he produce it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
and he also played on it?
He did. So he didn't play on the album, but he recorded me, and he produced and mixed and mastered and did the whole freaking thing. So and let me sit in his basement on Ableton for hours and mess around. So and so he played drums for the album release show in June and for the vinyl release show in August.
Cool.
And so there's nobody else in this world who knows the songs better than him. He probably knows them better than I do at this point.
He does get the objective view.
Yeah.
Whereas like you're still living in them,
Yeah, exactly. That's true too. And so he showed up to. He's also very trustworthy. I had another drummer lined up until like 2.5 weeks before the album release, and then it didn't work out. And I was like, Matt, I'm gonna need you to step up. And he's like, I had a feeling this might happen. And so
he's like, yes!
Yeah, he bought some in-ears, and I think that is probably what saved us. He showed up. He's like, I got in-ears. And I'm like, that's a great idea because, like you said, it's really difficult to lock in and sync up the drums with the loop. And so any sort of like high percussion sound, whether it was the hi-hat from my mouth or whether it was like on this one song I have like a ukulele like chop happening, he's like, we gotta make sure that's loud because that's like where I'm locking in.
Yes.
And so there were just slight modifications we had to make sure he could hear those things and stay locked in. But again, like he practiced, so like he put in the time. It was like 2 weeks notice and he was like, all right, I'm putting in 5 hours of practice tonight. Like it was like,
that's awesome.
So yeah, and then for the vinyl release, my good friend Max Vignola played bass.
What a great last name.
I know.
Seems like he should make pastries. Vignola pastries.
He would love that. Yeah.
Vignola cannolis.
But and he's been around and always been coming to my shows, and he's just a great bass player and guitar player. And I really trust him too. So I was just really lucky to have someone who knows my music as a fan and as a friend step in and be like, yeah, I've heard this song 100 times at Maria's shows and I've danced to this song. And, of course I want to play bass. So,
there's something about watching an artist dance to the music as well that gives you permission to dance to it, and you don't stop moving when you play. And I think people really appreciate that. I like to also try to be in that category, but when I'm looping, it's like, I don't have time to shake ass. I have a rug that's moving underneath my feet. Like, I'm scared right now.
Yeah. You do a really wonderful job of that, though. Putting that emotion into your music and
when the band's there,
and
when the band's there, I'm free to do what I want. Like they don't really need me at that point. It's like, this is nice that the spaceship just moves.
Yeah.
But like, did you feel stepping away from that show, going back to the looper, that you now had exposed yourself to things that you wanted to integrate without them?
Oh, for sure.
Is that why the key bass has come in with the MIDI?
Okay, so I thought of the answer to that question before you finished the question. So, because what I was thinking was, yes, I want to play with a band, but that's not what you were asking. You were asking, do I now have things I want to incorporate
in the solo show? Yeah. Because I think we all want to see more Maria Keck band shows, but it's hard to travel with a lot of people. It's hard to make that kind of thing work.
So I think the answer to that question right now is not really. Because I just don't know what the next thing is in terms of looping and solo. And so much of it was like, yeah, like I said, I'm like, man, I love the energy of having people on stage with me. And like Max dances so much.
Yeah.
And that like gives me energy to like, it gives me energy. And it makes everything more exciting. And it just, there's like this flow happening on stage. And so coming away from the band show, it's like, that's my main feeling is like, oh man, I want to do this more. And like, I feel like my music can evolve more if other people become a part of it. And that's something that I haven't had much of an opportunity to do, or maybe I've had the opportunities, but I haven't recognized them or taken them. And it's like, it's a little bit fear of like vulnerability, and it's a little bit just maybe pride. I don't know, but like realizing that other people can add new ideas and make your music transform into something greater it's like a little thing that's just pulling at my brain.
Well, it's nice to feel like there's like I don't want anyone in the way of inspiration going from me to song and just getting to follow that. But when it comes to the arrangements themselves and how the songs feel, it's like, all right, here's the bag of stuff. Now we have to make something out of it. Mm-hmm. So when I start to expose the songs to the band, they're going to start to shift and reconfigure and kind of collaborate amongst themselves while I'm still trying to get my shit together. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll fight a piece of what they're doing to the bitter end, only to eventually be like, I like it.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. To give into that, because great music is made through compromise, but also if the ship doesn't move in one direction, then we're gonna sink this bitch. Like we're not gonna get anywhere with the music. So I feel like to have such a deep introspection, such a self-motivated kind of project that eventually found players that also had that deep love and respect for what you're already doing. Mm-hmm. Now let's it have legs. It can go so many places, and to not have to worry about the additional groove aspects of it or the additional low end aspects of it, just to be able to keep doing what you do. Yeah. And then suddenly this thing goes into transformer mode, and it's like 4 cars hit each other, another one big robot. It's like, yeah, man. Yeah. It's pretty neat.
Sure. Yeah, I will say like it's partially an answer to the question that I didn't let you finish before I answered, and also just like a continuation of the wanting a band. But it's like I mentioned that I'm not really sure what the next phase is, and I'm just like in teacher mode right now, but it's the idea of having bandmates has made me want to focus more on getting better at playing instruments and not just cool looping,
cool,
because
KEW cool.
You can, I'm sure this, like you can be like, I'm gonna spend more time practicing my scales and like watching the greatest guitar players solo, or I can buy new gear. And it's like
which will ruin your life. And it's right. I look at Facebook Marketplace for 90% of my phone time, and that bugs me, because it's like I have untended to lyrical notes on my phone that I could be working on. Yep. I have voice memos that need TLC. I have current instruments that need new strings and some fucking love. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, the obsession of more bullshit is always there.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I will open up Marketplace and there are just saxophones, and I'm like, you have enough instruments. Just work on the ones you have. Like, so many saxophones. I don't even know where to start with But yeah, I do browse. Yeah. It's always it's like saxophones and Jeep Cherokees.
So as a music teacher, do you think like so many of us in the world of being an artist are always saying what's next? What's next? What do I really want at the end of the day? But you balance this career side by side with it that I wouldn't say is more content. I mean, you have the highest dreams for your students and what they can do, but you're already serving the role to the fullest. I mean, 6 grades worth of a bunch of students that any of these kids can have the aha moment of a lifetime that you can help kind of put the music in their hands. Just as you know and as I know, songwriting and an instrument is the greatest type of companionship, especially when people seem to be fickle and the world can let you down at times. It's like, this thing's always here for you.
Yeah.
So does having that career on the side help ground you to being satisfied currently with what's going on in your music? Or are they kind of a paradox of one wants to reach the moon and the other one wants to stay right here?
So it's interesting you word it that way. My like teaching career, I consider, my main job. And this C505 is my side hoe or whatever. So
Fat piece.
yeah, exactly. But so especially this year, since August and since the album came out, and all the roller coaster of all of that and the emotions tied to it, and putting so much into it and all the build up, and then it's like, okay, it's out, now what? And so I feel myself, I could feel myself kind of like spiraling, like, okay, I could really like maybe hit a low with like coming off of that, because then it's like an expectation to like work on the next thing, or like clear your mind and start writing and like getting better and whatever, or promoting and touring and starting to book a tour for next summer or whatever it may be. And so I have felt really lucky to have my teaching career to come back to, because I'm so sure of it and I feel really secure in it. This is my 7th year teaching, and this is only like my 3rd year of performing, writing and performing my own music. So, and writing and performing your own music is very vulnerable and emotional and tumultuous, and teaching is really stressful, but I've gotten good at it, and I have gotten a lot more certain about being good at it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the kids all love me for the most part, except for a couple.
Some rats.
And and yeah, we can come back to that more. But it's just like I feel very like I'm doing something worthwhile, and I'm confident in that when I'm there. And also I have a salary.
And
like
hopefully some benefits.
Yes, and benefits.
Maybe a retirement plan if
yeah.
things are good.
Yes. So I feel very secure in it, and for the time being, I'm very happy with being at that school in that position for however long. Like I could be there till retirement and I would be happy. And that's how I feel now. It might not be how I feel 5 years from now, but I'm really happy to have that, and I know that I can continue writing and performing music and still have that, at least for now.
Yeah.
And so it's very comforting, and like I feel real blessed that I can have that comfort and that certainty. And if I do like need to take a break from writing and performing, I can. And I can not only be financially secure, but like emotionally secure, because I think I'm still learning how to handle my emotions as a performer, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
You really hit it on the head where it's like there's so much flux to be had in the experience of working up to an album like that. The release shows, the touring, the days where you're just stewing over the same thing for the 50th time and trying to figure out, is it good enough for me? And then you're wondering, is it good enough for them? And the artist side has an insatiability to it, where it's like no number is ever enough, no size crowd is ever enough, no type of success ever really feels like it's going to equate to what it puts you through just to do it.
Yeah.
So finding ways to feel satisfied in your life outside of that is important for the stability to keep going at it.
Yeah.
And also learn to be happy with your passive contributions. Like, I couldn't say this about my own material because it's my own material. But when I think about what you did with the Gardener and Me, it's like you have made a very active contribution that is now a passive contribution to people's lives. It sits on a shelf like my vinyl does, or it sits in your Spotify the way it does for a lot of people, and it is infinitely accessible for that companionship. And it's not just you and your voice that accompanies people, but it's these rooms you've built in the songs that, for whatever reason, someone might choose that's the soundtrack to this part of their life. And there's so many folks in the world that love music dearly, that they do feel like it's a soundtrack, and they're not the type to put words to feelings, and they stumble across something that does it for them, and suddenly it's like a heated blanket you didn't even have to plug in, you know? It's just like, God damn, this thing works. It's magical in that way, and I'm sure you have, like I described, like Friends or Gilmore Girls as comfort shows. I watch my wife constantly go to those things on good and bad days. It's just like, oh, this is just always there for me. I feel that way about certain albums in my life, where my biggest goal is to contribute to that pile for other people. And as much as I don't believe it and I struggle with it, if it's there for one person, it's enough. If it's there for two people, it's fucking sweet. If the masses decide that I deserve to retire whenever I please because they like it enough, that would fucking help. But until then, you have to weather the storm however you choose to. And to be able to keep music as the primary focus of that on both sides of the coin for you is a really cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever taken the looper into the classroom to show the kids?
I have not, actually. A lot of people ask me that, and I'm always like, I don't know. I should, I guess.
It might make them sick. It's kind of confusing, you know? It's like,
yeah, it is a little confusing, but I think I just think I could use it. Like, once they get into the older grades, they're doing a lot of, like, looping. I mean, like, when they start playing instruments, like, my third graders are about to have a Halloween program. And, you know, we have the Orff barred mallet instruments, so like xylophones and metallophones, which is a made-up word. And but they're basically xylophones with metal bars. But the Orff, it's a elementary music method. They are Orff instruments specifically designed for that method, where you can remove individual bars. So, and you can teach like pentatonic scales, and so they all come with an octave and a half of, this is a rant, an octave and a half C major scale, or almost 2 octaves, and then they come with also a B flat bar that you can put on there, and 2 F sharps. So you can play in C major, F major, or G major. And so if you're in C major, you can remove the F.
Did you just walk through the circle of this? Visualize.
You can remove the B and the F. I say burgers and fries. And then you're in C major pentatonic. And so there's a lot involved in the method, but like you can teach a poem, a rhythmic poem, and then you can have half of the class play a steady beat on hand drums while the other half improvises on the pentatonic scale on that rhythmic poem. So you can be like, you know, Jelly Belly Bit with a big fat bite, and they're like playing like ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba, you know, and they're improvising and they don't realize it, and because you've taken off the wrong notes, you know, then it just all sounds great. And so, like...
That's cool.
So anyways, we use we don't have enough of them, but we use those metallophones and xylophones, and like I can teach a repeated 4-beat pattern on the xylophones, and they can loop that. I mean, they're looping it, they're playing it over and over again, while the metallophones play a different chordal accompaniment, while the drums play something else and woodblocks play something else. And essentially they're doing exactly what I do, you know?
Yeah.
And then the group of singers sing over that. And
how many kids are in each class?
Like 24 to 28.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you're splitting up like 6.
Yeah, I mean,
I wasn't going to say the third one. I realized my mistake.
It depends. But yeah, like, so this Halloween program, they're doing a total of 6 songs.
You did it. God, somebody watch out. It's poopy.
But so, like, you know, the whole grade level, which is over 100 kids, will sing, and then one class plays, like, is in charge of instruments for each song. So I'll have, and it's not even the whole class. I have to cut some, unfortunately.
Some of the rats.
Like, so like we had a full practice today with all 107 kids or whatever it is, and you know, it's chaotic, but like once you put them together, it's great. And like, so then you're like, I freaking hope this goes okay, because it's 1 week from the program and this is the first time we're all practicing together. But, like, you know, I'll be like, okay, metallophones, you start with your pattern. And they all know, like, everyone's counting. And they play, like, their 3-note pattern. Ding, 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 ding. And then they have, like, words that they say. So they're saying, pumpkin pie, to, like, help with the rhythm.
Yeah. It's like all, like, what did they call it for drummers?
Oh, I don't know.
Damn it. Whatever the terminology is for like triplet.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah. Strawberry. Like that.
We're more fun for kids.
But yeah, so then you know, kids, they can do crazy things. I mean, I've seen ensembles at like music ed conferences that are doing crazy things using that method. And like, so they'll perform, like a music teacher will like bring their ensemble in and perform for all of us like music teachers. And we're like, and then afterwards he explains what they're all thinking and what words they're all thinking in order to play what they're playing. And it's like, wow, like, but that takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice for them to stay focused. Like,
yeah. But it's a great thing for in that world that there's people don't feel precious about how they developed it. They want as many students as possible to hear these explanations of it and for the music to get internalized like that.
Oh, yeah.
I can only imagine the way that kind of conference goes out drinking with each other at the end of the night. Like, that must be the weirdest group of people you've ever seen.
Man,
we're like, pumpkins. This one dude's like, we need to get him an Uber because all the other 4th grade teachers dipped and he is curb blasted.
Yeah, it's a different kind of nerd. Yeah, but it's fun. Like, I don't get to hang out with many other elementary music teachers because I'm the only one in my school. And
that's a great point.
When I go to the conferences, I go to the Ohio conference, even though I'm in Indiana. I beg my principal to let me go to Ohio because it's much better. It's a much better conference. So then I never know anyone. But it's like worth it. I wouldn't know anyone in Indiana either. It's in like Fort Wayne.
It's the crossroads of America. They ain't doing shit over there. It's silly gooses. Not to talk bad about your state of employment.
I mean, that's why I beg every year. It's like Ohio's like the 3rd best. It's like Texas is number 1, then Florida, and then Ohio.
Texas is number 1?
For music
that's
education.
That's because of sheer size. That's
I don't know.
Not even
They've
fair.
got a lot of respect. Yeah.
Respect and guns. I mean, like, let's get to the real issues here.
Yeah.
They are they're cheating. Would you mind playing something for us?
Yeah. What do you want me to play? I don't do a lot with I don't know if I do anything with just vocals.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought the one that started with harmony was just vocal.
That has flute.
Oh, it does?
I can loop the flute. I can take it out if you want.
Whatever you prefer to do. Do you need an additional stand for that? I have a short stand that I can put a clip on over
For the
there.
mic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me grab that for you.
That would be easy to do. You want me to loop a Halloween song?
That'd be cool.
Pumpkin pie. No, but that would be to just demonstrate their loop, like what they're playing, and do it with the looper would be how I would demonstrate that.
I am all about whatever you would like to show off. I just think no one's ever come on the show and looped, so.
Cool. Well, yeah, this will be super easy. The Gardener is super simple.
Have you always had an affinity for that color orange that is the album cover?
No.
Really?
No, it had no meaning to me.
At all?
No.
It's so moody.
Isn't it great? What else was I gonna get? No, two things happened with that. One was the photographer who took those shots, which I didn't know they were going to end up being the album cover.
It was just like headshot promo.
Kind of, yeah. But, ooh. I'm sober. But her name is VFam, and she is wonderful. But she was like, I have this new orange backdrop that I want to try out. And I was like, sure, sounds good. Bring it over. And then like the night before I was thrifting and I found this orange bucket hat, which didn't end up on the album, but some of the shots have it. And so it's like orange on orange. And then when I have like flowers in my house, like a bouquet of flowers and they die, I like save the ones that still look cool that just dry out, and I have like a bowl of dried flowers. And so as we were taking photos, she was like, do we have any flowers or anything that we can put in the photos? And I was like, here's some dead ones.
Neato.
And so she stuck that little orange marigold behind my ear. Just happened that was like the most vibrant flower in the bowl, and the background was orange. And yeah.
It's great when the universe just calls things, and it's just like it just worked out great.
Exactly. I would never, ever think that the album cover would be orange. So.
Oh, yeah, it's just like a great burnt orange, very vibrant, very warm.
Yes. All right.
Rip it.
All right. You want me to go ahead?
Do it.
Okay. The gardener and me, we took the plunge and made our vows in an old mattress factory. So naturally we had a theme. The men wore pillowcases and the women all wore bed sheets. We taught our friends and family how to sing in harmony, 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 all the songs were improvised, and all our words forgot to rhyme. All our guests expected wine, but we showed them to a cellar packed with moonshine. The gardener and me, we're living happily. Harmony. Every day's an adventure. Harmony. When your soul is wild and free. The gardener and me, we're living happily. Life and love can be easy when your soul and your soulmate are wild and free, wild and free, wild and free.
Fuck yeah. So much more fun to listen to it with headphones on because you can really feel the nuances of the filters and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the reverb off your voice. You're freaking me out now. So when you start that initial loop, you're just thinking out the word harmony. You set the parameter, you go into overdub mode, and then you start to layer those flute passes. And then what's the second layer on there that you were doing, like the filters, like it was like a tremolo.
That is a filter. It's a filter effect. It's just a filter effect. I mean, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
So it just so I layer like the one chord that's an E flat and a B flat, and then I guess a two chord is just an F and a C.
Yeah.
They're both like open fifths, which makes it really open.
Do you avoid the third when you're doing loops like that so it doesn't have as much like demand to be here?
Not usually, no. Not on purpose, but like that idea needs to be there more in my head so I can like create more like harmonic change when I'm playing over, like when I'm just soloing with my flute, or if I'm trying to add like dynamic or harmonic contrast. I need to be thinking that way of like no third, or what can we do in this chord progression to like change the harmonic feel of it to like make it a seventh or a ninth chord or whatever, because I'm not thinking that way. That was something that Chris Keith mentioned to me too. He was like, have you ever thought about this? And I was like, I have, I just haven't done it, because on paper I know how to do it, but like in the actual looping game, I'm like, that's a lot of, I need to like think about it and write it down.
Yeah.
But which is fine, but
Have you been a fan of the onboard effects with the RC505?
What do you mean by that? Just like
Do you like the sound? Do you like the sound of the reverbs? Do you like the sound of the filters? Or did it take a long time to sculpt for what you do?
I am a fan of them, but I don't have like refined taste in effects. So they're a step up from the RC30.
For sure. I think just to hear that they're enough for folks, like, there's a lot of people looking to go from just a vocalist into I have a place that can flush out my ideas and also give me everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, a computer DAW really doesn't do it the way that something like that would. So just to feel that folks are saying, yeah, it's enough for what you do and what a lot of other folks do is a good endorsement of that piece of equipment.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I've barely scratched the surface with it as well. I mean, I pretty much stay in this one setting, but I can have I don't even know if I'm calling it the correct thing.
Go digging, yeah.
Because you can what am I looking for here?
Explosion sounds.
Like I can, oh, whoa, sorry about that.
No, you're fine. It's best with examples.
But like whatever, this collection of settings that I'm in, I stay in all the time. But I can have effects set differently, and I can have I have an EQ input effect that I can customize.
Oh, so it has like channel inserts almost, where could you define that okay, loop track number 2 is going to have this EQ effect on there, but loop 1 is going to have the EQ in there?
Yes.
Okay, and is that kind of how you think about it? 2 has this filter, number 5 has some more out shit, because if we make it down there, it's time to get weird?
Kind of, so I can't set any effects on the channels, but I can set A, B, and C. These are my input effects to be certain effects. So in the memory bank that I'm in right now, I don't know if I'm using the right word. Never read the manual, but
it's not audible. I mean, why?
In this one, which is number 4, and which I've been in for a long time.
What was that? Was that your octave?
my A input effect is the guitar to bass. So
it's nice that it goes. It has a pretty low latency for that intense of an effect.
Yeah. And then this one, I guess, is a filter.
Yeah.
and then
this is so much more entertaining than any other episode I've ever done. Getting the weird ones.
Well, it's usually on that one's usually on reverb, but there it is. So it's set to reverb, but if I change this C right now, my C effect to this rolling effect, I can just
an infinite feedback delay.
I can save it. I can save this, and now every time I turn on my looper, if I hit C, it's gonna be that roll effect.
Cool.
So I can save those settings, or I can just go to a different memory. I have loops that are in here right now. I don't know what those are.
Forgotten children.
Probably yeah. Oh, that is coming from a computer. That was
that's some tight MIDI hat.
Who knows?
That's a patient deep groove. That's trippy.
So, anyways, I don't know what that's all about, but
it's nice that you can leave stuff on there though. So it's all right, if I'm gonna run my show and I don't want to be doing mouth hi-hats, then I can just have that program to the tempo I want. Yeah.
And I think it goes up to 99, so I can have different.
The BPM only goes to 99?
No, I have 99 different memory banks or whatever you want to call them.
I'm an idiot. I thought you were it only goes to 99 BPM, so that you have to do the math. So it's it's really 120. You doing 60, hon?
That's a very specific limitation from Boss. Let's just play a trick on them.
Why not? Why 3 characters? Why do they need all that shit? It's god dang hippies. Have you ever plugged it into a computer just to have an online interface to no, absolutely not.
An online, a digital.
Yeah, it has a little USB out on the back, so I just wonder if it has an app.
I don't know if it has an app, but I think that all of these might be.
orchestra hits. Nice.
No, so
Let's
I have
make the manual. Let's
so
do this.
I'll tell you what I've done with it in terms of using that. What do you call this?
At that little USB port.
Yeah, it's just. I guess it's just. Yeah, it's a USB. But
Yeah, but it's like the alternative USB.
So I've used this. You can actually use this as an interface. So with my release shows, I use this as an interface, and I had my DAW, which I do have Ableton.
Okay.
They give a 40% teacher discount.
Woo! Respect the squad.
Yeah, and I just think that's so cool. But so I pulled the trigger and got Ableton. Still barely know how to use it. But what it so I figured out how to connect my MacBook to this to the MIDI controller. So everything can run through this. So how I use that setup now is just I don't know if you would call it patches or just the different electronic instruments that I will toggle between on my MIDI keyboard.
Yeah.
And I can just loop them here. So I can loop a bass line with an actual bass sound.
And then jump to a new patch, and then you have your electronic drums if you want to, or whatever that's going to be.
And I have like a Novation launch key that is, syncs well with Ableton. So it has like a little mini 8-pad drum pad too, which is nice. And so as of right now, I just have I have this real poppy bass that I use for Wild and Free, and I have another sub bass that I use for a couple songs. I have just a keyboard. I have this little Rhodes keyboard, so I have a small collection of instruments that I can use to more closely replicate the sounds of the album. So that's maybe an answer to your earlier question about the songs. But
totally, it's cool to see it in all analog form, but also I think as a fan of what you do, it really opens up I don't know where the fuck she's gonna be going with this, and I'm excited to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you're a straight pimp with that thing. Can you tell the people where they can follow you?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Maria Keck. That's Keck, like heck, but with a K. And so my Facebook is Maria Keck Music. Yes. And my website is mariakeckmusic.com. And on Instagram, I'm Miss Keck. I made it very difficult for my students to find me.
Isn't that what they call you?
Yes.
That's more difficult.
That's the joke.
Okay, I'm just making sure I understand.
But they're too young to have Instagram, so it's okay. Just Miss Keck.
You don't know with kids these days, okay?
That's true.
Some of them have Etsy stores, and they're slowly making more money than their parents.
It's probably true.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's terrifying.
Well, thank you so much for making the time to come on. I think you're an absolute motherfucker in the game, and I adore what you do.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching, y'all.